Hey guys, welcome back. It's Missy, and if you're new here, welcome. I am a life and relationship coach, and on this channel we get to the root of the issue and we learn how to heal and deal. So if that's your thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to be a part of the fam. Today we're going to be talking about how to start connecting with people, conversation starters, and how to have genuine, deep connections with others. So in today's world, it's easier than ever to connect with others. We have the internet, we have social media, we have phones. So it's pretty easy to reach out to others. But the only downside is, even though we're able to reach out to others, it's still really hard to connect on a deeper level with others because social media gives a false perception of what we're going through, how we're actually feeling. And often on the internet, because people feel comfortable being as harsh as possible because they can hide behind their computer screen, we are scared to be vulnerable and share what's actually going on. So it's hard to form those deep connections. And there's more shallow connections with others than ever. And oftentimes we aren't our genuine selves. We're afraid to be vulnerable. So we don't go there. And as an adult, it's especially hard making friends and connecting with others, because when you're in school, you're around tons of people. But then when you're an adult, you're just in work and you go home and you don't really have a lot going on. So it's hard to make and form those connections. There's another factor we have to add, which is loneliness versus alone. So when you're alone, it literally just means you're alone. There's no one around you. It's good to get comfortable with being alone. But loneliness is completely different. Loneliness is when you're not connecting to yourself or others. So you can be in a room full of people, but you can still feel really lonely. You could be with a bunch of your friends, but you still feel really lonely. And that's because you're not being authentic, you're not being genuine, and you're not sharing what's going on with yourself. So don't get it twisted. I have clients who are like, yeah, I have a ton of friends. And I'm like, well, how many of those friends know that you peed your pants in the first grade and now you're scared of peeing your pants? Or how many of your friends do you share when you're having a bad day, or you're sharing your successes, or you're sharing your deep, darkest secrets? If you don't really have anyone, then you're not really connecting with anyone, and that explains the loneliness. So let's go into the basics. How do you start connecting with others? Well, first thing is you have to join some sort of group, join something outside of work and what you're doing, so that way you can connect with others. So join maybe an interest, there's meetups that you can join, clubs, you can join sports. Find something that is of interest to you where you can meet other people. The next thing is having a conversation. A lot of people, when they're about to go into a conversation with someone they don't really know, they're like, oh my God, what do I say? What if there's awkward pauses? What if they don't like me? They have all these what if thoughts. There's a lot of anxiety, especially if you have social anxiety. And so then it will prevent you from reaching out or trying to connect with people. So let's go into the art of a conversation. So basically a conversation is just a certain topic where you're asking questions and you're revealing things about yourself and you're actually interested and invested what the other person's saying. And one of the reasons why conversations fail is because people are really self-conscious. They're either thinking about what they're gonna say next, they are thinking, oh, do they like me? They're observing the person to see their body language or how they're taking in the conversation. They're looking to see if they're being judged or rejected. So what you wanna do is you wanna turn you being self-conscious to you being interested in the conversation. So that's being present. Something I always tell my clients is the answers are always in the conversation. So there's always a question you can ask. There's always something you can share in every topic. Even if something that you're not really that interested in, you can ask questions and get more interested if it's someone that is intriguing to you and you really would like to connect on a deeper level. So recognize and notice every time you have those thoughts of trying to read their mind, getting really self-conscious. Notice when you're doing that and bring yourself back to the conversation. And another reason why conversations fail is because people are too much of listeners. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're not only listening, but you're also sharing. So if there's something, like there's experience you've been through, or it's a place that you've gone to, share that experience. And that's how it becomes a back and forth, and they may ask questions and then they share things. And so then it becomes a back and forth of asking questions, sharing things until you get tired of each other. No, just kidding. Until you're done with the conversation, which we'll go into how to end a conversation in a minute, because that's a lot of people's fear, the fear of getting stuck and trapped and not knowing how to end a conversation. So the other part of starting that engagement is also body language. So I talk a lot about this in my confidence video, which I'll leave right here. But you know, smiling is really important, and also eye contact, because you want to show that you're interested in what you're saying. You don't want to be on your phone, you don't want to be looking over there, you don't want to be looking at the time. That makes people uncomfortable, and it feels like you're not invested in the conversation. So you want to be engaged and you want to react with facial expressions. But it's good if you have a hard time with eye contact to have like a mini conversation in the mirror and practice that eye contact and smile and engage and practice those facial expressions of being engaged in conversations. Or you could practice with a friend or a family member. So let's go into some conversation starters. So one of the best ways to start a conversation is to compliment someone's like clothing, their glasses, something on them, even their eyes, their hair. But you want it to be genuine. You don't want to fake compliment someone just to start a conversation. That's already starting the relationship inauthentic. Like, don't want to start it like that. But by giving a compliment, it shows that you're friendly, and it could be a good way to start talking about like clothes or stores or hair products or whatever it is. That could be a beginning conversation starter. Another conversation starter is hobbies, things they do for fun or things they're interested in. Maybe it's arts or being creative, like dancing and cooking and painting. You know, that could be something they're interested in. Maybe the interest of learning philosophy. So you could share an interest of yours and see if they have any. That's a way to share something about yourself and then also be invested in them too. Another conversation starter is family. So mom, dad, do they have any siblings, cousins? What were their experiences like growing up? And then the last one is like career and education, their school experiences, what they're doing for a career now, or what do they want to do. Those are good topics to start with. And then as you start connecting more, you start to reveal more things. Maybe share some of your dreams, your goals, your past, your fears. Those are things you start to share more and more as you build a bond and you build more trust with that person. Now, conversation enders. So a lot of people, they're scared to go in conversations because they don't know how to end it. How do I get out of a conversation? So one thing is, if you're ready to end a conversation, never be afraid to say, hey, it was nice talking to you. I really have to get going. Or if it's someone that doesn't get the hint, then you just slowly start walking to your car or start walking away. They'll eventually get it. Because some people, they'll just keep talking even though you said, I have to go, those are the people that make people anxious. So slowly start walking away. So you already let them know, I have to go. If they're not listening, then you just gotta do what you gotta do. Another way to end a conversation, if you just met them and you'd like to connect with them again, let them know again, like, hey, it was nice connecting with you, or hey, it was nice talking to you. Can I have your number, or can we do this again? There's nothing wrong with you letting a person know that you have to go, and you don't have to overly explain yourself, because you know, codependent people or people pleasers, you'll do that. You'll try to overly explain yourself to get the approval that it's okay to leave. You're okay to just leave, and you do not have to explain yourself. And if they don't accept that you have to go, that's their problem, not yours. So let's talk about how to connect on a deeper level. Now that we talked about kind of the starter, let's go deeper into it. So the first thing is be yourself. That's really important. I'm sure you've heard that a ton of times, but it's so important to be yourself, because if you're being who you think that they want you to be, or you're being someone completely different, then you're gonna have to keep up with that lie, and you'll eventually get exhausted and you'll lose yourself. And you're not able to form that genuine connection. You're just being who you think they want you to be. So you're not really forming friendships. So then you continue to have to be this fake person you're not, or you always feel like you have to be your best self. You have to be on your best behavior, and that's exhausting. So being yourself means sharing your opinions, sharing your interests, your ideas, what's going on with you, your successes, your failures, making sure, like I said before, not being too much of a listener, but also sharing what's going on with you. Reaching out when you have a rough day. Those are all really important in being your genuine self and being able to connect with others. Because friendships are not just about sharing the good times, they're also about sharing the bad times too. That's how you have that emotional support. So make sure to be your authentic, genuine self and be vulnerable, which we'll talk about in a minute. You need to be present. So you need to be in the moment right here. So that means putting your devices away. Like when I'm with people, my devices are not in sight. I want the person to know they have my undivided attention. And that's really important when you're connecting with others, is put that phone to the side. Those notifications, those text messages, they can wait. The person that's in front of you matters the most. So make sure you're in the present and you show that you're actually interested, because that's what you want. So why would you not give the same in return? You know how that feels when someone's in front of you and they're on their phone and they're doing all types of things. It makes you feel terrible. The next thing is be a listener. Now this is really important because people think that just hearing others is the same thing as listening. No. Listening is completely different. Listening means you're able to understand and acknowledge what that person's saying. You are hearing them, not just hearing through your ears, but hearing through your heart and your mind. So a listener is someone where, like, if someone's having a rough day, you will reach out. Or a listener is someone who, if they've brought up a conversation, you'll ask about it again. Like, hey, you said you had a soccer match. How did that soccer match go? So bring things up that they've told you in the past that they're interested in, see how it's going. If they said they have an event coming up, see how it's going. Or let's say that they said they're going through a hard time and then you do reach out. That's showing empathy. So that shows that you're a good listener and you're able to be empathetic. And you are showing that you are interested, invested, and you are able to be a good friend. And another thing is, if you are someone who you've been burned in the past, you've been hurt, and you now have a fear of others, it's important to be aware of those yellow and red flags, because in the past you ignored them, but now you can become more educated and know what to look out for. Now it's not that you want to obsessively look for the signs, you just want to be aware and pay attention to these behaviors if the type of people that you're trying to connect with have these behaviors. So one thing is, if you tell them something and they blurt it out to everyone, you now know that you can't really trust them with information. And you may not want to share certain things with them in the future, or it will take a lot for them to now build that trust again. Another thing is, notice if they're big gossipers and how they speak about others. Because what they're doing in front of you, they're doing it behind your back too. So if they're big gossipers or they're talking shit about their friends, they're doing that exact same thing to you. Don't think that you're special. It's not happening to you because they like you. They're going to do it. So that's someone that you wouldn't really want to invest your time in. There's a big difference between venting to your best friend and talking and gossiping about everyone. So that means paying attention to how they treat others. So if they are really rude to other people, you may be next. Another thing is, if you are just starting to be friends with people, put up boundaries. See how they take those boundaries. If they don't respect your boundaries, for instance, let's say you're like, hey, I can't go out at 8 p.m. and they keep pushing it and pushing it, they're not respecting your boundaries, and no, they'll probably not respect other boundaries you put up, and that's someone you may not want to invest your time in. Or people that dismiss how you're feeling or they belittle you. Those are all people that you wouldn't want to connect with further. So don't ever dismiss your feelings or the red flags, because you did that in the past. Make sure you really pay attention to those, and that will help guide you, as well as your intuition, which I talk about a lot. Paying attention to how your intuition, how do you feel when you meet someone? If you feel like something's off with that person, then you know you don't want to connect with them. If you feel like a good feeling, then you know you do want to connect. But don't mix up insecurity with intuition. Fear is not intuition. So being scared is not the same thing as feeling like, something's off with this person. I don't think that I want to further that connection. Which I talk more about my intuition versus insecurity video. And also my red flags video about how to spot red flags. And also another thing, to be more aware of what you want, list the requirements. What do you want in a friend? That way, when it comes to it, if they don't meet those requirements, then you don't really want to be their friend, or you don't want to invest time in them. And vice versa, like, you also want to be the friend that you're requiring. That's really important. You want to be fair. The next thing is be vulnerable, which is the part that a lot of people have a really hard time with. So being vulnerable can be scary, because being vulnerable means that we're opening ourselves up to potentially being hurt. But that's part of life. You don't want to go your entire life protecting yourself. You want to go in through your life taking risks. and learning from your mistakes. And if you don't get vulnerable with others, especially people that you trust, then how do you ever really connect with people on a deeper level? How do you really form deep love and deep connections? You don't. So you have to be vulnerable. And what vulnerable means is to be open and raw with your feelings, with your past hurt, with things that you've been through, your emotions. So when you build that bond with someone, you build that trust, and they show they're someone you get a good feeling about and you want to get to know more, go and be vulnerable. Share some things that you've been through. Share maybe you were cheated on. Share that maybe you had abusive parents. Share your hopes and dreams. Share your fears. Share what's going on with you. Share when you're having rough times. Share when you're having good times. That's part of being vulnerable, is being open and raw and honest with what's going on with you, which is the key thing that we're missing in today's society. And you get to choose who you want to be vulnerable with. In life, we can't prevent people from hurting us. We just basically choose who we want to hurt and who is going to hurt us. I mean, you could go your life not being vulnerable, but that sounds like a pretty lonely life. So don't live your life in fear. Live your life the way you want, with being open to experiences and learning from them. But like I said, it's important that you do this with people that you form a bond and trust with. You don't want to do these with people that you don't feel comfortable with or you haven't built that trust with yet. And you can also build that trust by them being vulnerable with you, so you being vulnerable with each other, but making sure that it's not too fast. Because when it's too fast, that is potential of manipulation, which manipulators will gather that information. The next thing that's really important is accepting rejection, which is one of the hardest things, because studies have shown when we're rejected, it lights up the exact same part of your brain when you feel physical pain. Because way back when, if you were rejected, you were isolated, then you would die. So that's why rejection affects us so intensely. So we aren't like that in today's society. We don't get isolated like that. We're not going to die. So you have to retrain your brain and view rejection in a different way. Rejection will always hurt, but we can always change our perception about it. So understand, sometimes people won't like you and it has nothing to do with you. A lot of times we take rejection really personally, and sometimes it's not personal. Sometimes we do things and sometimes we don't, and people just don't like us because they don't like that we have blue eyes. I don't know, they just come up with some stupid reason why they don't like us, and that's their problem. You need to not take it so personally and just be okay. Some people, they're gonna reject you, and that's fine. When I get rejected and I look at myself and I know I didn't do anything wrong, I'm just like, okay, that's their problem, not mine. They're missing out on something great. I don't care. But and let's say if you made a mistake and you did something, you can look at yourself and you can see, what can you do better? What can you learn from this circumstance? The other thing is, you can see rejection as a way to open doors for you to new opportunities. That person now can't waste your time because they let you know, hey, I'm not interested. So you're like, okay, I can actually connect with people that actually care about me and people that won't waste my time. So it's a win. People get hurt by rejection because they fantasize that this person is gonna be this, it's gonna be this amazing experience, but that's not true. It's all an illusion we have created. So rejection can be an opportunity rather than a failure. And the last thing, you have to maintain the friendship. So you want to invite them out places. You maybe want to go for walks, you want to hang out. You need to maintain the friendship, so you want to reach out, this is a fear of a lot of people, where they maybe have a fear of being a burden, they have a fear of reaching out, they have a fear of maybe looking too needy. Don't be afraid to reach out. If you're reaching out like 3 or 4 times and they're not reciprocating, then you know it's not someone that you really want to invest your time in, and someone that's really willing to genuinely connect. So reach out and also let people know what you need, what you want. It's important when you have these connections, you then nurture those connections. It's important, you have to maintain connections and reach out, and also pay attention if they're reaching out as well. And if they aren't, you can let them know that you would prefer if they did reach out more. So what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with someone you think may need it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. So today, what do I want to say? You can join Spoits. We have to add, which is lonely nurse. Other conversation starters are No, don't do that. Oops. You're supposed to be doing a video. Why are you checking your messages? The first thing is you need to be vulnerable. That's why I don't have the light on. Shoot. Sorry, I forgot the light. Because oh shit, it's dying. Oh, these batteries, man. I don't want to see that because those will scare people.